Everyone, it's Wingspan TT, the fourth best commentator on YouTube, and today I want to talk about planetary interaction in EVE Online. And I've said a lot of times that you don't have to play EVE the way I play it. There are lots of things to do online, whether it's PvP, PvE, all kinds of different PvE, business, exploration, just ganking people, recruiting, information brokerage, all that stuff. But today I want to look at planetary interaction, which is something that it's not exactly tied to exploration or anything in the game, although obviously the ability to find cool planets in the game would definitely help you with planetary exploration. It's kind of like somewhere in between SimCity and some kind of mining game. You know what? I don't want to get too far into it. Here I have a planet that I've actually been running for quite some time. It is an aquatic planet, and guess what? What I'm pulling from it is water. You can see here I have this drill. This is essentially drilling water from this area over here. We can see on my scan, if we look for water, surprise, surprise, there's a lot of water on this planet because it's made of water. Aqueous liquids, to be more precise. But then, of course, I have all these buildings over here processing it. But what I want to show you is planetary interaction from the ground up with a brand new planet, so to speak, so that you can get a sense of how planetary interaction is done and what benefits it could have if you want to do it in EVE Online. And once again, this is one of those things where it's like you don't have to do it by any means. But really, if you wanted to, you could play the entire game just doing planetary interaction and then doing industry and sales-based things with the things you mine out of your planets. So let's take a look here. The first thing you need to start planetary interaction is a command center. A command center is a building. Hold on a second. A command center is a building that can be built on a certain type of planet. In this case, a temperate command center can be built on temperate planets. That would be a planet like Earth or Vulcan or Krypton or something like that. A planet that's got like forests and animals and things like that. So see here, planetary, temperate planet. So you need to take one of these command centers and you need to put it in a ship that is large enough to hold it. In this case, I've decided to go with my Nereus, which is a, let's see here. Nereus is a Galente. It's a really boring Galente ship. Oops, sorry, got trapped in the cargo hold here. There we go, now it's in my cargo hold. And you need to take the command center to the planet you wish to essentially build on. So we're going to undock and go check this out. So once you've arrived at your planet, now you're in space, orbiting your planet. At this point, you can start building on, and we can see here, this is a really beautiful temperate planet. You can imagine there's all kinds of lower life forms living here, bacteria, birds, fish, cows. I don't really care about any of those things. I'm just going to mine this thing for all it's worth. You want to view the planet in planet mode. It's going to load the planet up here, and now we could see our beautiful planet. Of course, you can read more about it if you want. You can zoom out. You can see what orbiting bodies it has. In this case, a customs office. It doesn't have any moons or anything like that. And you want to decide what you're going to mine. So if we start doing a scan, we can start looking. We can see where there are aqueous liquids on the planet. No surprise, they're in the liquid parts of the planet. So this would not be a good thing to essentially be pulling from this temperate planet. We have autotrophs, which are essentially, I believe, cows. They are small cows. So yes, you can mine cows. I guess you can imagine that your command center will just be putting down a big meat grinder on the planet and just fucking ripping up the autotrophs. We've got carbon compounds, of course, the building blocks of life. Complex organisms, that would be things like snakes and birds and humans and things like that. Anything you want to throw into a giant blender, but it actually doesn't look like, again, that there's that many complex organisms here. And then microorganisms being bacteria and things like that. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it to be most hilarious to be somehow making sausage, to be grinding up cows. I think I'm going to make a burger plant on this planet. So I'm going to go for autotrophs. And one thing you can do with your scanner is you can make it more or less accurate so you can figure out where you want to essentially look for the autotrophs. So here you want to look for a space where it's still white, white being white hot, red being red hot, all the cold colors being bad. Oh, surprisingly, no cows live on the poles of this planet. This looks like a pretty good area over here. We see it's a pretty dense area as far as cow populations go. So what I'm going to do is build here. and we're going to be farming autotrophs. So we have our command centers, and you'll see here the command center that's in my cargo bay. And at this point, you could choose exactly where you want to put it down. Now, it doesn't really matter exactly where you put it down, but all your other buildings are going to have to be within a certain radius of it. So you should put it somewhat near the area that you would like to be farming in, but not directly over the hotspots, because you need to place other buildings there. So here I'm going to build my command center, and then you're going to hit submit. And now my command center is built. Now it's just a regular command center. It's got 1675 teraflops of CPU, 6,000 megawatts of power, but I feel like we're going to need a better command center than that. Now these are all, you're going to need certain skills to upgrade your command center to these levels. It's going to cost me 2.7 million ISK to upgrade, but in the long run, this planet is going to make me much more than 2.7 million ISKs. And even when I was first starting out doing planetary interaction, my planets were already earning me like, I don't know, 10, 30, 40 million ISK at a time. So to put in 3 million ISK is really not a big deal. You just need the money up front. So after the command center, what you want to build is an extractor control unit. And the extractor control unit is the actual drill that's going to be drilling up the autotrophs and turning them into ground meat. So I built the extractor control unit, and at this point we had to actually have it extract autotrophs. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose what it's going to be looking for, autotrophs, and that brings a heat map. If we chose something else, it'll show you, again, microorganisms, and you can slide the control sensitivity and all that stuff. But we are drilling cows. And what we're going to do is install these drill heads with these giant fucking drills. They're these incredibly, insanely mean things that basically just turn organisms into meat. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place them. And with the placing them, what you can see here is that when you drag them around, you can see the amount of essentially cows that they pick up changes drastically. So what we'd like to do is get as many of them in the white area as possible. You can see this now going up to 211, whereas out here it's 153 units per cycle. Here it's pretty hot. This is a big hot spot for cows. Maybe there's a watering hole over here. Maybe there's some, like, I don't know, alien cowboys here. They're just wrangling them all up. I don't even know if there's things you can wrangle other than a cow, but here we go. Fit as many as I can to this area. And you can have them overlap, but you'll notice that as they overlap, those little red numbers coming up saying that you're losing efficiency, essentially, that the more overlap you have, the more likely it is that, you're basically, they're sharing cows. They're sharing cows, so that just doesn't fly. So I'm going to put this over here. Once you've chosen this extraction size, okay, then what you can do is choose your extraction cycle time period, okay? And the time period is tied to the size. So you see here, when it starts out, it says for 1 hour, if I run it 1 hour, it's going to be 124,000 cows an hour, okay? Now let's say you don't want to check back in an hour. Let's say you want to check back in 4 days time. And what's great about planetary interaction is it's very passive. You set this up, you could check it every hour if you want and maximize it every hour, or you can literally set it up to run for weeks at a time and you don't have to check it, and it really doesn't take up your space. Your mental space, that is. And that's great. Now you'll see I'll get 2 million units, but my productivity has dropped to 17,000 cows an hour. So I'll still get more in the long run if you run it longer, and of course there's interference, but it benefits you to basically make it as short of a time period as possible that you are still essentially going to be around, in order to check it. So I'm actually going to close this for a second. I don't want to start the program just yet, and I'll show you why. It's because if I start it right now, there's nowhere for the cow meat to go. So this is where we're going to build processors. I'm going to build a basic industry processor. And I'm going to build the processors, hold on a second, right around here. And what it's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to turn, essentially to turn the cow meat into something more useful. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in a second. I'm just going to build a couple of processors. You could consider these to each be a new McDonald's. McDonald's has billions and billions and trillions served. So that's what we're going to be doing here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. All right. And I don't even know if this is really the best layout. I'm actually just going for the CCP logo or something like that right now. And I'm pretty sure I could probably have gotten one more in there and put one over here. Okay. I feel like actually that might be overkill. I'm not really sure what my computer could support. I mean my computer, I mean my industry computer on the planet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a spaceport. And a spaceport is going to allow the products that I'm building, essentially I'm going to be able to take these burgers and ship them off planet. So I'm going to build a spaceport here. Okay, great. Alright, and now we have a basic start. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into each of these basic industry facilities, and I'm going to choose what I want to do with the cow meat. And I'm going to take the autotroph, the cow meat, I'm going to take every 3,000 cow meat and to turn it into 20 industrial fibers. And I'm going to do this for each of my processing plant. And you might think it's a little sad to turn all these cows into industrial fibers, but hey, what were they really doing on this planet anyway? Were they achieving anything great? Were they, you know, here we are flying around the world, flying around the galaxy, and these cows are just sitting here chewing up cud. And that's no good. These guys have to become productive members of society. And what is more productive than industrial fibers? I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. So here we go. I'm choosing industrial fibers, autotrophs, industrial fibers. And of course, if you were mining for something else, you would be choosing a different something else here. Okay. So now I have my extractor set up. Okay. I have my industry processor set up, and I have a launch pad set up. Now I have to connect them. So I'm going to create planetary links. So first what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be, here we go. Actually, you know what? What I want to do is, in case I have a feeling that this thing's going to be producing way more cow meat than meets the eye. So I'm going to put my storage facility here. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to create a link where this is going to link to the storage facility, okay? And I'm going to make it so that any products that it creates, hold on, any products it creates, oh, it's because it didn't actually start yet. Here, I'll start it. What? Come on, autotrophs. Okay, here we go. I'm going to run this for, I don't know, maybe a day. I'll check in on it in a day. Here we go, bring it down a little bit. Here we go, a day and 30 minutes. And I see there's a little overlap of my miners, so I'm just going to pull them a little farther apart from one another just to get maximum yield, get as much burger meat as possible. There we go. Pull this down a little bit. I don't know which one of these is. Oh, this one is. There we go. Here we go. All right, perfect. So I installed my program. They are now mining autotrophs. And you hit submit here. So we can now see it's going to take 15 minutes for it to get its first 21,000 autotrophs. That's great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a planetary link. Nope, sorry, wrong one. I'm going to create a planetary link from here to my storage facility. Oh, it already exists. Great. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that the products, that is the autotrophs, get routed to the storage facility. So that means as the meat comes in, it's going to be moved to the storage facility. And we can see here in the routes, we have incoming 30,000 autotrophs for every 15 minutes. That's just beautiful. Now what I'm going to do, and by the way, this is not, none of this stuff is explained at all well in Eve. Like, there's no way to figure out how to do this in the game. Like, you have to watch a tutorial, which is kind of why I'm doing this right now. So now I'm going to create planetary links from my storage unit, okay, into all the different processors. And I'll show you exactly why I'm doing that in a second. And again, this may not be the most efficient way to do it, but this is the way I've been doing it. And considering I've been playing 5 weeks, it's been working for me. I'm sure someone who's like a pro at EVE Online could do this a lot better. But hey, the pros need to make videos too. So now I have links to all those things. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have routed, okay, here 30,000 autotrophs, okay. I'm going to create a route, and I'm going to get 3,000 at a time and move it to this processing facility, okay. And again, I'm going to take the next incoming autotrophs, I'm going to create a route and move it to this processing facility. I'm going to do this for all of them essentially, so I can move 3,000 at a time, create a route, go to this one, very good, create a route here. And this is not going to cover, oh, hold on a second, cancel, sorry. Very easy to misclick. 1, 2, 3, I believe I did that one already. Here. This is not going to cover all of the autotroph meat. As you can see, there's 30,000. I'm only going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3, 18,000. However, you'll also notice that what's going to happen is that, hold on a second, that because this is a storage facility, it's going to hold on to the extra meat essentially. So even when something is not running at a current time, it can hold on to it. And now what I'm going to do is, now that all these things are processing, I'm going to create links to go from each one of these to the launch pad. So that when they're done turning the autotrophs into new industrial fibers, and if you can hear that, my neighbors are doing a lot of vacuuming upstairs. Those fibers can be ejected into space, where my ships can come by and pick them up. Creating links here. And again, I know this is not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world, but although if you like SimCity and Civilization or any of those kind of things, you might like this. And even if you don't like it, it's free ISK, and it's just something that I find is relaxing. You know, you go around, I'm running from enemies all the time, I'm fighting people, I'm getting blown up all the time. It's just nice to do something relaxing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each of these, I'm going to take the products and now industrial fibers, and those fibers are going to get routed to the launch pad. Now, of course, there's way more complicated ways to do this. Again, if you were using advanced industry, if you were using, you know, different products from different planets or multiple products from the same planet and you're moving them around, then yes, it's going to be more complicated than this. But I just want to give you a basic idea of how this all starts out. Okay, so now we have 20, 20, 20, 6 times 20, however much that is, 120. We're going to have 120 industrial fibers every hour. They're going to go into this launch pad, and then once the launch pad is essentially full, what I can do is hit launch. It's not going to allow me to do it now. Oh, it will allow me. And I can choose between, I can essentially move these things into Planetary Customs Office where I can go pick them up. And that's basically it. Now, essentially, my planet is going to be on autopilot. It's just going to be mining these things, and that's it. Then it's going to go into the reactors. It's going to take all that. It's going to go into storage. Blah 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 blah. Cows get turned into fibers. Fibers get turned to ISK. Everyone's happy. And right now I have 4 planets running this way. And basically I make a couple dozen or 100 million ISK every week or so off of this. It's very easy to make a couple 100 million ISK. Basically not doing that much. But it's interesting, and of course. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to say is that eventually these cows will get sucked out of the region. There's not going to be a lot of cows here. At that point, you got to choose, do you want to build a new command center somewhere, rebuild and go look for new cows? Do you want to change all of your schematics and mine for something else? Or do you want to make the planet into something, you know, entirely different and use, I don't know, fibers and stuff from other planets and set up advanced industry here? But again, this is just something, this is a cool add-on to Eve. There's obviously thousands, there's more than 6,500 solar systems in Eve. And that means there must be like 20,000 planets. There's certainly more than enough planets to go around for you to get your hands on it. So go stake your claim, get an EVE online, make some money, blah, blah, blah. See you in game, add me in game, add me some ISK. I don't care what you do. Just check it out. All right, everyone, I'm Wingspan TT from TopTierTactics.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll come back next time. And until then, cheers.